times when it comes to like just putting either my problems on other people. Like it ain't my boys ain't really the first people I kind of go to. Sometimes it's my sisters, to be
Yeah.
completely honest, just because honestly, like, I feel like women, if I am like playing a little back and forth, a little ping pong, if I like, well, what about this? If I try to, well, even though I don't like to do this, what about this with you? I don't really like to make it, this for that. I kind
Yeah.
of like to treat things as their own specific example
Mhm.
and move forward with that. But it's like, even if I ever come across a situation like that, I feel like just my sisters are really balanced to where, like, if it could be something that is a little bit triggering to some people, it won't really be triggering to them, because ultimately they understand that we're at a spot where we're trying to improve, with one another, or if not, help the other person improve.
Yeah.
Whether I'm trying to help my sisters or my sisters are trying to help me. And it's like
Yeah.
I get a whole different perspective. Like, niggas that don't got sisters, bro, like, I don't not feel bad for you. It's just
I
that
feel bad for him.
I do feel bad for them. It's a whole,
It's
like,
a difference.
it's a difference, but it's like, you can have sisters that are like just friends, or
Yeah.
cousins that are sisters. Like, it's like, for people who don't have that, like, it's just a lot missing out there that you don't know about, just people in general, or just like understanding, women really, or just being patient, or just not looking at them as an object, looking
You
at
know, it's crazy, dog.
what's
Not
that?
to like, excuse
No,
me.
no, no. Speak that. Speak
Yeah.
on it. I was talking. I was long
I
winded,
was
right?
literally having that conversation like last night. I was
Mm-hmm.
speaking in defense. Not even in defense. I was just giving perspective to uh a woman who is a very, very close to me. I was giving her a perspective of like a guy who's very close to me without saying names. And I was just kind of like, man, people look at how I treat, what I'm saying, my wife, or how, like, I treat my moms, or how we treat, like the women in our family, and be like, yeah, like he don't even do that, or he don't even do this. And I really be like, man, the difference between us and I think a lot of people that we know is like, yo, we got hella women in the family. And so it's like, bro, we got enough men in the family to make sure that like we get all of the men lessons that we need in life, all the tough shit, all of the like y'all fight together, y'all run together shit, all of the like, hey man, it's y'all against everybody type shit. But we also got enough women in the family to kind of help us stay in touch with our quote unquote feminine side. Cause I wouldn't say that it's a feminine side, but what I would say is just kind of like more of a woman understanding side. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my wife does shit that like my sisters did. And so like I see dudes trip out over certain things that women do that like I don't really make a big deal out of. And I'm not saying like I'm better than them or anything like that. I ain't making excuses for them. I'm just saying that like I seen my sisters do it and what it was. And like, I see it, I know what it is. It's not like, some a, a lot of times in relationships, people play the guessing game unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like one thing you said last week, you left the listeners where you said to have grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey man, I would just say have some grace. And that starts with having grace with yourself. And then, da 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 da. Like ever since you've been saying that to me now for a couple years, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's been
Mm-hmm.
at least a year or so. And I'm like, man, like, I actually took heed to it. It didn't just go over my head, you know what I'm saying? And what that meant. And I was just kind of like, man, a lot of times, man, we be so like, you got one time to fuck up and that's it with people.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfair because it's just like, man, how do I phrase this? Like the way you might want a person to treat you or the way you might want a person to respond to you or react to you, you know, you there's a good chance you're not gonna get exactly that. But the person could give you a version of that I think you could work with if you're not being ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that not being ridiculous just come with grace. It's like uh you could tell a person a million things. They can't read your mind. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
No,
they
for
can't
real.
do it
For real.
exactly the way you want them to do it. So it's like, man, take the good with the bad. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying to the point that you was making that, I'm fortunate to have sisters like I had and cousins like I had and a mama like I had and aunties like I had and make up aunties because we all got people in our family that's not even blood related. He's just like, how we cousins? And why would you say that we cousins when I was trying to talk to their daughter and shit? You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to make is
Y'all
at the
cousins now.
end, you know what I'm saying? And
You
I'm saying
can't talk to her no more.
this back is like, damn, we cousins for real? You got
Uh,
me on the 23 and me, like, let me see your paper. What your 23 and me looks like. Okay, we not really related. But point I'm making is at the end of the day, to your point, man, having women growing up with women like right there with us who like actually took the time out to teach us, who like really cared about like they really cared about like how women would perceive us.
mm-hmm.
They giving us the game. They like, hey,
And
don't
niggas
call.
don't know. And
Yeah,
niggas don't know.
yeah, like
Hey,
we
let me talk over
yeah.
for a little quick little second.
Go
Hey,
ahead, go ahead, cuz.
I'm gonna touch on the grace thing real quick. So the grace thing, I've always looked at it as like grace is kind of like you giving it to somebody, but grace is really for yourself and your peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, they really have a hard time with just letting things go. They think
Yeah.
like, nah, nah. Like, cause my last thing I said last episode was just, hey, don't play about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take yourself serious. Don't let other people play with you, but also give
Mm-hmm.
grace. And that's like a kind of like a little rhetoric of like Icarus. Like, don't fly too high, but don't fly too low. Don't
Yeah.
give, don't play about yourself, but
Yeah.
also give grace. Stay in the
Yeah.
kind of the middle, and you'll be good. You know, throughout the course. So that
Yeah.
was kind of really my whole thing, was just saying give grace, because ultimately it gives yourself, appeasement. You put yourself at you give yourself some kind of alleviation as well too. So ultimately, when you give grace to other, even though it's an act of giving somebody something,
Yeah.
or it could be a fake friend that hasn't really been that legitimate, but it's like, anytime you see them, anytime they're doing something, you give support to them, even though they don't really deserve that shit. You
Uh,
giving them that support to ultimately get the negative shit that's on your mind about them, off of your mind, and
yeah.
ultimately just allowing you to have a free flow of thinking. But
Yeah.
to tie back to what D-Lou was saying, just having like women in your life, like literally, like I don't know what the hell was going through my big cousin's mind at the time. This is Donovan and Keenan's big sister. Keenan is Donovan's D-Lou's
Twin brother.
twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
So my big cousins, who is D-Lou and Keenan's big sisters, Altavia and Shanice,
Mm-hmm.
they were cheerleaders. We were probably about like 7, if not 9 years younger than them, and we were
Mm-hmm.
always like just cool young dudes. We were always super respectful, showing love, but also like when it comes to being cool and respectful,
Nigga,
you
they
do.
homegirls was on us when we was kids and shit.
I mean, if you want to say it like that, but
They was on
ultimately,
us.
but I'm coming from a perspective of Shanice and Octavia, where like they didn't want to see like a girl put their womanly prowess, or like their gift of their gift on us, to just kind of literally just hypnotize us. So
Right, right, right.
ultimately, they taught us to kind of reserve ourselves. No matter how much you like a girl, don't tell her too much things. If you're going to compliment a girl, compliment her on shoulders up, and ultimately how to walk with a girl, how to talk to a girl, not to be too much on a girl. And they would give us demonstrations with some of their friends, and these girls like 7, they like 7 and 9 years older than us, and we walk with our hand on their waist. And
Uh,
you can call it whatever you want to call it. It was
yeah.
nothing that was
It
it was
wasn't
not,
it wasn't nothing ill will. It was really just like
it was nothing ill will. It was just really just like coming from perspective, like, look, get used to women. You're going to be dealing with women for the rest of your life. But ultimately, when you get around them, know how to act around them. Don't be too on it, and don't be like too aggressive or too mean or anything. Like, if you feel like you don't want to interact with them, you don't have to interact with them. You don't have to be nice to them just because you like them. Like, it's like, and you can be a little rude to make them. Sometimes the girls like it when the guy's a little mean to them. Like, they honestly told us a little bit of the side of women that men may think is crazy, but ultimately it's just a different language, and
yeah.
they were kind of giving decoding it for us, even though we were young men. And I know some people gonna hear it and be like, they was grooming you. It's like, this is my cousin and her
Nah, it
homegirls.
wasn't
I mean,
doing
ain't nothing went further than that, and these women are still in our lives to this day. So it's really ain't nothing like that. But
yeah.
every
Not even
lesson I.
that, like man, they to your point, they like indirectly like responsible for like us being able to find good women.
For
You know what
sure,
I'm saying? Like find women that's like suitable for the things that we want in life. Like,
300%. They overly
yeah,
responsible for that, for sure.
come on. It's like, at the end of the day, like you gotta learn in life, everything you do, you learn from. Even when it's self-taught, man. I don't care. Even when it's self-taught, because I've done taught myself, a numerous amount of things.
Mm.
You're gonna definitely go to somebody for an example. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn from somewhere. And so it's like we was just fortunate enough, saying that to say we were just fortunate enough to have women. We didn't have to go and like go to school, form, relationships with females, become their friends.
Mm-hmm.
Then they calling us brother and sister,
Mm-hmm.
bro, and all of that. And then they teaching us, but we 16, 17 years old. There's a good chance I could have met a girl before that
Yeah.
who, that advice and that information could have helped me out. It's people who fall in love at 13 and be with that person today 100. And then there's people
Mm-hmm.
who, go through, 10, 11, 12 situations and then they figure it out. It's like at the end of the day,